everyone, and welcome to the Formula E Pit Lane Preview Show. My name is Darren Atatossier.
And I'm Saunders CB.
And welcome to Berlin and to the very familiar surroundings of the Templehof Airport for round 7 and 8 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship.
It's great to be back. There is no circuit that has been raced on more than this one, with plenty of drama during those races. And I think it's safe to say we can expect more of the same this weekend, especially coming off the back of that Sao Paulo race.
Oh, I know, such a good race. So gutted that I wasn't there, but it looked like you had lots of fun. And we've got a very action-packed show for you today. Now, coming up, we have Alexa catching up with Maserati's Edo Mortara, who did very well out here last year.
He did indeed. We put your fan questions to German and Avalanche Andretti driver Andre Lotterer, and we caught up with the Jaguar TCS Racing boys Sam Bird and Mitch Evans after their incredible performance in Sao Paulo.
So good. And of course, I love to explore the cities that we race in. So if you're joining us this weekend for all of the action, put together a bit of a guide for you. But Saunders, first up, this circuit is pretty much a second home for Formula E. I think it's worth taking a look at all of the history.
For sure, it certainly feels like a second home, I'll say that. You know, like I said before, there's no circuit that's been raced on more times. We've been here 15 times, 15 great races, some of which were absolutely pivotal to the championship.
Well, here's what you can learn about the Templehof circuit and what to expect this weekend.
We're back racing in Berlin for what will be the 16th and 17th time on this circuit. No circuit has featured in more Formula E races than this one, and it is a huge part of Formula E's history so far. Alongside some absolutely epic racing, the circuit has seen 13 different race winners, 10 different pole sitters, 6 back-to-back races, and the crowning of the first Formula E world champion. There have been some truly defining moments in the history of Formula E at Tempelhof. But now we're back in a whole new era of Formula E racing with a new generation of car, so what does that mean for this weekend's doubleheader? This season's protagonists each have their share of history here and a love-hate relationship with the Tempelhof circuit. Coming off the back of his first win of the season in Brazil, Mitch Evans and Jaguar TCS Racing have been known to call Berlin their bogey circuit. Unsurprising after having the championship title snatched away from them in Season 7. Qualifying well in Berlin pays dividends. Getting on pole here has resulted in a win or a podium in 13 of the 15 races taken place here. And looking at this season, Mitch Evans is the only driver to start every race in the top 10. And now, full of confidence after the win, could this be the year he and Jaguar put their Berlin demons to bed? Championship leader Pascal Wehrlein has managed to hold on to his lead with a handful of all-important points since his last win and podium 4 races ago in Diriyah. A big points finish is what the German driver needs to rebuild his lead as the others continue to narrow the points gap. But Wehrlein has never finished higher than 6th at this circuit, despite it being a home race. Not the most encouraging stat for someone pushing for their first title, but will the incredibly impressive Tag Heuer Porsche car give him the machinery he needs to get his season back on track? Despite still holding on to second in the standings by just a single point, Jake Dennis is on a run of disappointing and pointless results. Tempelhof was the venue for Jake's biggest Formula E upset and championship blow back in Season 7, but he needs a change of luck more than anything in this weekend's doubleheader to keep him in the mix, as only 4 points separate 2nd and 5th. Tyres and grip have played a massive role in this season so far, transferring and controlling the immense power and torque of the Gen 3 car onto the tarmac has been one of the greatest challenges for drivers this season, thanks to the ultra-sustainable and durable Hankook tyre. But this Berlin circuit is famously abrasive, meaning where we've seen huge degradation in previous seasons, adding to the drama in the later stages of the races, this weekend we may see slightly improved grip as the tyre outlasts previous compounds, potentially making the way for greater control, faster speeds and more overtaking. So those are just a few of the things to be thinking about ahead of this weekend's doubleheader. The scene is set for the new generation of Formula E to tackle the most race-on circuit in the championship's history, but where will we stand at the end of the weekend?
Ooh, this track has really provided some action over the last few years.
Yeah, it has. There's a few reasons why, though, that we can actually think about going into this weekend.
Okay.
There's a bunch of things, you know, attack mode position, overtaking opportunities, all that, but the main crucial element of this circuit that causes the drama, the surface.
Right.
It's very abrasive, it's gritty, it doesn't do well with tyre degradation, the tyres really fall off towards the end of the race. But the other thing we've contended with in the past is heat. We're racing in May and even August in some years. We don't have potentially one, maybe two of those problems this weekend. One, because the temperature is much colder, and two, because with these new Gen 3 tyres, they are much more durable. So we won't see those tyres fall off as much towards the end of the race. My prediction, that potentially could mean more overtakes, it could mean more action towards the end of the race, and it could mean faster speeds.
So lots to look forward to. Well, a man, as mentioned, who did really well here last year is MORTARA from Maserati, finishing with a 1-2 in the double header last year. Great stuff from Edo. And our very own Alexa Rendell caught up with him to see how he's preparing for the race this weekend.
Edo, welcome back to Berlin. Happy memories here from last year, I'm sure. Your first and your second?
Yeah, sure. So in general, we had some pretty good race weekends like here in the past, season 7 or kind of. Especially the first race was also very good with the second place, and obviously last year with a win and a second place in the second race, 2 pole positions. It was a very good race weekend for us.
And I mean, coming into that weekend after what happened in season 7, did you know you had the potential with that car to go in and have such a successful weekend?
No, not really, because you never know what to expect in Formula E. It's so unpredictable, and the level of the championship is extremely high, so we weren't expecting really to be performing that well. We knew from the past that we kind of had, pretty good setup for a year, but we were kind of like caught by surprise with how good it went for us last year.
And then you mentioned quali, your pole positions. What made you guys so good in those sessions? You were pretty dominant.
Hard for me to answer. I guess that, sometimes, the racing track is kind of like suiting your, the car setup that you chose, the driving style that you have as a driver. So everything kinds of like go in your direction. And I think that this is what happened, last year. Hopefully it's going to be the same this year.
And I mean, the quali format, the duels, was still relatively new back then. Did you find that you adapted to that quite easily? Do you think that helped, or what was your relationship with that format?
I got like along, pretty okay, with the duels, since the beginning of that season, and there was no surprises, I would say.
And you mentioned about adapting to this track quite well. Is this track quite different to what we're more used to in Formula E?
I think so. Part of the reason is that the racing track is kind of like a little bit wider. The tarmac is definitely different because you have it's definitely more abrasive, a little bit different. You have concrete in a lot of like the places here, as when we go in other racetracks, it's probably more asphalt and without going like too much in details, this racing track is very aggressive for the tires, and I think that we had you need to have like kind of like a pretty specific like race setup for here, and this is actually what we understood in the last years actually quite well.
Do you enjoy this track?
Racing drivers tend to enjoy every racing track where we do well. So obviously in the past season it's been quite good for us, and especially for me. So yes, it's a race weekend it's a racing track that I enjoy.
And going into this race now, you've had a tricky start to the season, but as you mentioned, you do enjoy this track. Are you feeling good about this weekend?
Feeling good. It's difficult to say because as you said, we had a tough beginning of the season. We are obviously working flat out, in order to try to catch up a little bit the guys and the other teams that are in front of us. We had a kind of like a little break in between Sao Paulo and now here in Berlin, trying to understand a little bit what went wrong, try to improve. Hopefully, it will go better now. It's good to have like a racing weekend where we perform like in the past, and hopefully everything will go in the right direction.
Best of luck this weekend, Edo. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Edo and Alexa for that very insightful chat. Great to hear.
Lovely to hear. Now, we've put your fan questions to Avalanche Andretti's Andre Lotterer, who is of course going to be racing on home soil. Very exciting.
You asked, here's how he answered.
Rookie test is great. It's not easy to get time in a Formula E car due to racing in cities and get the cars out on real Formula E conditions. So looking forward to see all the guys, all the rookies behind the wheel and see how they do. I really enjoy racing for the Andretti Avalanche Formula E team, and being teammates with Jake is fun on and off the track. We work really well together professionally, similar driving style, similar comments, and the atmosphere in the team is great, been welcomed very warmly here, and everyone's pushing in the same direction. So no, it's been a great journey so far. We want better results, of course, but no, I feel at home here, and like I said, with Jake, I have a lot of fun, and I enjoy being here. Yes. Favorite section of the Berlin track, I think it would be turn 6 and 7. It's quite high speed, but I also like start-finish because the crowd is very close to the track, and it's been quite full in the past years, so the vibes are really cool to race in front of the spectators. Nicknames. My nicknames, well, it would be Lotti. Well, that's due to my family name, LOTTERER, Lotti. Then, because I grew up in Belgium, my name's pronounced André, so they call me Dédé. But there's no funny nickname linked to my name so far. Favorite thing about racing at home? Well, you definitely feel extra support from the crowds, so it's always nice to race in front of the German fans. I mean, it's a very motorsport-driven country, and the crowds have always been very supportive here, so it always gives a bit of an extra boost of motivation.
Thanks very much to Andre for answering those questions, and for you all for sending them in. They get better each time. And make sure to keep an eye out on the Formula E social media accounts in the build-up to our races to see how you can get involved.
Now, we've talked a lot about this as a racing location, but where we are in the grander scheme, Berlin, an incredible city, and I heard that you had a little chance to explore.
Of course, you know me, Saunders, love to have a look around the cities and see what's going on, and I've actually put together a guide for you all watching, sponsored by Saudia.
Let's take a look.
We're back in the German capital, a city renowned for its art, culture and nightlife, not to mention the incredible history around every corner. So we thought it'd only be right to take a look around and show you what you can get up to if you're joining us for the racing this weekend. This is Berlin Discovered, brought to you by Saudia. And where better to start than perhaps the most iconic site in Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate. During the Cold War, the gate stood in no man's land between East and West. However, when the wall fell in 1989, 100,000 people gathered here to celebrate its reopening. So not only is this Berlin's last surviving city gate, but it's also a symbol of a reunified Germany. Not far from the Brandenburg Gate is the rejuvenated Reichstag building, the seat of the German government and one of the most significant buildings in German history. Reopened in 1999, you can come and visit and see the distinctive dome. And this is Prinzessengarten here in Neukölln. As you guys know, I love my green spaces, but this one in particular is really cool because it's a unique community project teaching ecological DIY with everything from gardening to workshops. There's also a cafe and shop selling the locally grown produce. But if, like me, you aren't too keen to get your hands dirty, there's also lots for you to explore whilst you're here and relax and enjoy the green space. Now, we spoke about the Brandenburg Gate being on the border of East and West during the Cold War. Well, if you want to learn more about the Berlin Wall or the fascinating history around it, this is the place to go. The Memorial of the Wall is an open-air museum sitting on Bernauer Strasse, a road that was literally split down the middle by the wall. It was here that many people made a desperate break for freedom, braving the barbed wires of no man's land or even digging tunnels to escape to West Germany. As well as these incredible stories, there's also a preserved section of the original fortifications to show how the wall would have looked at the time. And this is another section of the Berlin Wall remnants that has become globally recognised for a very different reason. This is the East Side Gallery, which is the world's largest open-air gallery with 101 paintings from 118 artists from 21 different countries. Now, this is a true celebration of freedom and is a wonderful place for you to come and take a walk, check out the artwork, and definitely more than a few photos. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I love to try the local cuisine, and here in Market Hall 9 in trendy Kreuzberg, there's no end to the food options available. This is actually one of the last few covered markets surviving here in Berlin, and you can get some of the very best street food experts serving up cuisines from all over the world. It's buzzing with independent stalls offering anything you might fancy, and hosts weekly events such as Street Food Thursdays or the Breakfast Market on Sunday. And if you're after some culture, definitely make sure to head down to Museum Island, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This island in the River Spree has 5 museums, so there's plenty to explore. And it's not just the exhibitions that are worth seeing, the architecture here is beautiful as well.
What a city Berlin is. It's so great to be able to come here every year. We're lucky, aren't we?
Very lucky. It's so cool and so much history here as well that I was really lucky to be able to learn about.
Okay, well, let's get back to the important bits of this weekend, the racing, the track, because coming off the back of Sao Paulo, we saw an incredible performance both from the Jaguar TCS racing team and Envision racing team, meaning that we got a 1, 2, 3, a whole podium powered by the same powertrain package.
So we caught up with the Jaguar TCS Racing's Mitch Evans and Sam Bird to hear about their incredible weekend in Sao Paulo and hear how they're feeling about racing at Templehof this weekend.
Yeah, so mate, finally got a good result. Obviously you've had a podium this year already, but for me it was a bit overdue. But yeah, to obviously both be on the podium was amazing and get a good result for the team. Our first one in Gen 3 and everything, so yeah, it was
awesome. You know,
good, right?
I think as well, like, obviously India was India. India was India, and then Cape Town was disappointing
India
as well.
or what?
India, did we do India?
Cape Town?
No, we did, yeah. But in all seriousness, we know that we've had this pace. Like, to deliver it, and what a place to do it as well. Like, it was super cool, like the podium was amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody here has worked so hard, and there's been a lot of frustration.
Yeah, it feels like that was kind of the round one for me of the year, so hopefully we can continue that performance there.
Yeah, I think the Gen 3 car, to be fair, has created some amazing racing. Like the race in Brazil, there were so many lead changes. I think you and Nick changed lead like 3-4 times between you. I was able to come from 10th up to 3rd. Like, what did you enjoy the race, or was it a bit stressful?
No, I enjoyed it. I think it, you know, when it's so tight like that, you've got to really dig deep and think about it a lot. Obviously the team, you know, in terms of strategy, we've made maybe a couple of mistakes this year, but we've learned from them, and I think we really put it to practice in Sao Paulo. You know, with your starting position, getting up to the front, with me at the front, always trying to manage that track position. It was like no one wanted to really lead that race, which is kind of bizarre. So yeah, I think this car has opened up a different way of racing, a different dynamic, and we're going to try and, you know, I think with the team we've tried to understand that, and we've started to understand what this car needs. So I enjoyed it though. It was great. It was an amazing battle with Nick and obviously yourself at the end. Yeah, so here we are in Berlin. It brings back basically no memories, no good memories.
How many podiums have you had here?
Actually, I've had one. So I've had one
as well.
Yeah, so we've had a decent memory. It was a P3.
One in 16 is my record here, I think.
Yeah.
So, super.
Oh, mine's not much better. Obviously, we've had some dark moments here as well. For me personally, like in season 7, going for the championship, and the car not starting. This place brings back some weird memories. But hopefully, off the back of Sao Paulo, a fresh start with Gen 3.
I think that's the key thing, mate. Like, it is a fresh start, and you look at our car this year, and we have been quick at all different circuit types.
Yeah.
So why should this one be any different? Is the mindset that I'm going into this one. Like, we've got every opportunity to be quick here.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm feeling good for this one, despite, you know, some of the bad luck we've had here in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, Monaco, I think it's, for me personally, it's my favorite race of the year. As a whole event, it's just a special place. Yeah, I mean, you've won there in the past, and Obviously, I was going up against one another in GP2.
Yep.
In Formula E, you've not won there, right?
No, like I haven't actually had a podium there in Formula E.
Okay.
No, I think my best is 4th. I've had a couple of fastest laps, and it is one that I love to race at. Like I love the layout of the circuit. It's one that we all go to and we all want to do well. I'm excited to take the Gen 3 car there. I think RI Type 6 will suit the track
be a good
really
fit,
well.
right?
I think it'll be really, really fun. And then looking ahead to the rest of the season, we've got some great ones coming up. Obviously, we've got Monaco, we've got London, we've got Rome, we've got Jakarta, we've got Portland as well.
New location, yeah.
So we've got lots to look forward to. Like we're now getting into like middle of the season. Now we need to go point hunting and try and close the gap to Porsche.
Well, mate, good luck. I'm going to see you in about
Cheers,
2
good luck.
seconds anyway after this, but good luck. And yeah, let's have a good weekend.
Oh, mate.
Let's go for it.
Good luck, mate.
See you soon.
Thanks very much to Mitch and Sam for taking the time to chat with us. Now, Saunders, what do we think? Do you think they can replicate the same sort of result this weekend?
Good question. I think the trajectory that the Jaguar team have been on has just been up and up and up.
Yeah,
They've
very
had
impressive.
a few moments where it hasn't, come to fruition, but Brazil saw that all end and they had that great performance. They would go into a traditional Berlin E-Prix saying this is not a circuit that we do very well at. But I think it's sort of like a role reversal this season. Speaking to Sam Bird earlier in the week, he said that the circuits they usually predict to be good on, it's been completely the other way around this season. So with that argument, maybe this is one they're suddenly going to be good at. This circuit, you benefit very well if you do well in qualifying. And that's something that Mitch Evans has done almost better than anybody else consistently. So that's a really good sign. So long story short, I think it's on the cards. It really is on the cards. They just need to get the power down, do well in qualifying, and hold that position.
And what do you think more generally on the grid with the other drivers?
We're at a really interesting point in the season now. We're sort of coming up to that halfway point, and we've got an interesting championship. Pascal Wehrlein needs a really good big point race, as does Jake Dennis, because otherwise that whole order could change very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
As I said earlier in that little VT, there's only 4 points between 2nd and 5th. So at the end of this weekend, a double header, a lot could be different. One driver we haven't mentioned though, I think that could do very well here this weekend, is Antonio Felix da Costa. He won a championship here after a very dominant display in those 6 races in Berlin. I would say he's a shout for this weekend, I would.
Okay, there we go. Those are Saunders' predictions. Let us know what you're thinking in the comments down below. And of course, make sure to join us this weekend for the 2023 Sabic Berlin E-Prix.